Deep-seated rivalry between the National Hospital Insurance Fund NHIF Board Chairperson Lewis Nguyai and the fund's Chief Executive Officer CEO Peter Kamunyo has turned ugly and has degenerated to sharply divide the board and the senior management, the informer can authoritatively reveal.
You heard also on the presentation from the CEO that in some of the facilities, you have people who are even using their staff to key in for biometrics for claims, which is a very serious, that's fraud.
So tense is the situation that some senior managers are taking administrative and operational directives from Nguyai, while one faction of the board is leaning towards Kamunyo. The bitter leadership row believed to have been occasioned by competition and conflict of interest in influencing award of lucrative tenders and alleged fake payouts hospitals.
Indeed, there was an open tender whereby they were the only ones, but the reason why there was negotiation following that was because they were the only ones who have been the only ones for the last 7 years, and this time the quotation was above budget.
This has now hampered efforts to restructure NHIF due to the fallout between the board and top management. Appearing before the National Assembly Health Committee yesterday, Nguyai revealed part of the staff in the scheme's top management, including directors, are not qualified for the positions they are currently holding. The push comes at a time the board has fallen out with the NHIF's top brass, including Kamunyo, highlighting behind-the-scenes fights at the cash-rich scheme. Kamunyo was in the past accused of irregular hiring of staff without following due procedure. There are also claims of nepotism, favoritism, and blossoming illicit affairs. Nguyai told the committee that the board, charged with the policy guidance responsibility, will meet on November 30th to endorse the new organizational structure that has already received approval from the State Corporations Advisory Committee (SCSC). The board head in September threatened to oust Kamunyo, accusing him of insubordination following the revocation of the contracts for 17 healthcare providers under the scheme. Kamunyo cancelled contracts of healthcare providers in September following an audit that unearthed massive irregularities under the Comprehensive Secondary School Student Medical Scheme, popularly known as EduAfya. The restructuring plan comes at a time 65% of the NHIF top management posts are being held in an acting capacity. The board said the restructuring will also lead to promotion of staff who have stagnated or acted in one post for a very long period of time. NHIF has 1,835 employees against an approved staff complement of 2,200 and is seeking to hire 400 new employees to plug the staff shortfall. Restructuring of the top management will result in some offices being scrapped and employees redeployed or declared redundant. NHIF will roll out universal healthcare UHC as part of the government's plan to provide affordable and quality healthcare to all Kenyans. NHIF has for years been grappling with revenue leakages that are estimated to cost the fund between 10 to 20% of its total annual revenues. The scheme is currently on a recovery path after years of losses that had pushed it to a negative cash surplus of 3.65 billion shillings in the year that ended June 2019. Unaudited results for the year that ended this June show that NHIF had 800.97 million in a surplus, representing a 78% jump from 449.9 million shillings held in a year earlier. The health fund premiums grew 29.4% to 80.43 billion shillings, while medical payouts jumped 31.9% to 71.34 billion shillings. Other costs increased by 10.3% to 7.78 billion shillings. Cases of corruption have dogged NHIF for long. The Auditor General Nancy Gashumbu's office raised queries over 336 million shillings payment by NHIF to a law firm that had not been pre-qualified to bid for tenders with the health providers. According to Auditor General reports, the law firm was not in the pre-qualified list of suppliers, in contravention of Section 93(1) of the Public Procurement and Assets Disposal Act 2015. No money had been allocated to pay for legal services, making it go against the Public Finance Management Act. Gashungu said the fund was in breach of the law and the proprietor of the legal fee of 336,339,000 shillings paid to the law firm could not be confirmed. The statement of comprehensive income and expenditure reflected an expenditure of 37,716,058,407 shillings under the National Health Scheme NHS benefits expenses, which includes the legal fees of 336,339,000 paid to a law firm in a respect of drawing 6,700, with health providers at a negotiated total instruction fees of 432,800,000 shillings. The law firm was to further charge an amount of 43,260,000 shillings, being cost for company search, printing, binding, travel costs and stamp duty and distribution of the contracts. On November 5th, 2018, the firm reviewed the terms of engagement and added 309 contracts for the drafting, with an additional cost of 26,749,302 shillings as legal fees. There was no consent from NHIF for the variation. Further, the legal service was not in the approved procurement plan for the 2018-2019 financial year, which is contrary to Section 45(3)(a) of the Public Procurement and Assets Disposal Act 2015, which states that all procurement processes shall be within the approved budget of the procuring entity and shall be planned by the procuring entity concerned through the annual procurement plan. Early this year, a civil society organization petitioned for Kamunyo's removal from office for allegedly promoting corruption and other irregularities at the agency. The Nubians Rights Forum accused Kamunyo of embezzlement of public funds, unjustified backdating of salaries, and making irregular appointments and transfers of staff. Through an affidavit sworn by Shavi Ali Hussein, the executive director of the organization at the Employment and Labor Relations Court, Kamunyo has also been accused of abusing his office by allegedly directly discriminating against well-deserving and hardworking members of the staff. There is alleged rot at NHIF. A standoff between the two bosses, as manifested during the National Assembly Health Committee meeting, revealed that the two bosses, the CEO and the chairman, are reading from two different scripts. Sources reveal that employees and staffs have been forced to take directives from two different angles emanating from the same bosses. Stanley Lugaria, the informer, uncovering the truth.